Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining the job searching and internship searching tips section. I do have a check-in process. If you wouldn't mind, press pause, take a click to this site here and check in for me just so that I know that you attended the workshop virtually today. Thanks again for joining me. So I start with this cartoon because this is how the job search makes us feel. Even when you're internship searching, it sometimes feels like you need that experience, even to get the internship. And of course, you need that job to get the work experience. So, how do we resolve this conflict? So, the things that I'm going to talk to you today are very specifically about entry level job searching, internship searching, the things that you need to do as a student, soon to be graduate, to be successful in the intern and job search. And the first thing that I want you to know is that you have what it takes. You already have all the skills and talents that employers are looking for. We accepted you to the program at NC State for a reason, because you are good. You are special and you have something great to offer these employers. So it's really a matter of finding those right opportunities for you and then communicating your skills and talents effectively once you find that opportunity. Now, many of the things in the job search are totally out of your control. You don't know how many other candidates there are in the pool. You don't know who those candidates are in the pool. Maybe they already work there. Those kinds of scenarios definitely play out. And you can't worry yourself with that because you have no control over it. What we're going to talk about today are the things that you can do, the routine you can get yourself into to help keep yourself on track and hopefully keep it from feeling overwhelming in the process. And the last thing I want to tell you from this slide is that persistence is really key. Certainly, things like rejection will be part of your job and internship search. That is completely normal. It is what happens to everybody in the job search. So there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing that you've necessarily done wrong when you don't hear back from an employer. So try not to internalize that as you're going through the search process. Keep going. Check in with me, with my office. Any of the folks on my team can certainly help you with that. And we can help you make sure that, things are going according to, what's normal. The technique that I'm going to suggest for you is to really consider, planning to do something in your intern or job search every day. So making time for that, blocking it out on your calendar, setting some goals for yourself, that is really what I want you to focus on doing. So I've got different types of job boards here that you can use. And then we're going to talk some about the other things that you need to do as part of that job search process, not just applying for jobs online, but also networking and also the interview preparation. All of these things are very important. So I've got a link here that I'm going to share with you for this handout, and you can kind of get some ideas. But just think about, okay, 3 or 4 days a week, I'm going to make sure that I'm not missing out on any job opportunities that are out there in the market. And then 2 or 3 days a week, I'm going to make sure that I am actively working to expand or cultivate my existing network and work on my interview skills, because those are important pieces as well. You're going to mix and match those based upon, what are the resources that you find most effective, and then also, what are the things you feel you need the most work on. But have some kind of plan for yourself for how you're going to focus your time and attention. And of course, plan to take a day off from it sometimes too, just like you need to do for your studies. You need to have those times where you can take a breath of that. And I've got a link to the PDF here of this so that you can see this. And we're going to go through all of it in a little more detail as well. But basically, I do want you to set these weekly goals. Put it in your calendar. If you're using Google Calendar, if you're using a paper calendar, whatever you use to keep track of yourself, and you budget your time each day for here's how much when I'm in class, here's when I'm working on this project or studying for this test, whatever it might be. Put that job search piece in there and do it. Follow through on that on your timeline. And you want to be working on the job search in a place and an environment that you feel professional, right? So the things that I am listing here are things that can help you feel like, all right, I'm putting on my job seeker hat. I'm going to have this professional voice that I'm writing with today, that I am speaking to others with. And when I go to this place, I'm productive in that search, and I'm moving forward, which is really important to, because sometimes it takes that persistence, but you're taking those active steps at the time. So all of these things that are listed here, I think, are really important just in helping you focus and feel like it's your job to job search, because it is. It's a full-time job to find a full-time job, as I've said to many students over the years. Now, this piece is really important as well. So organizing your search can be extremely important as you apply for multiple positions. You want to keep track of what you've already applied to, where you are in that process, and keeping all those documents together, the job description, your resume, any other materials that you might have submitted for that, knowing instantly that if I have applied for this job with NetApp, which job did I apply for? Which resume did I use? Oh, and now they've called me for an interview. So I've got all those materials right together and can very easily do my interview prep for that, because I know, what it is that I've applied for. So Trello, Teal, and Jobwell are all visual platforms that you can use. And I'm going to pull this up just so you can get an example of this. And you can see here an example of that, where you can move that job over, if you've gotten a coding test or if you've gotten a first round interview. So you can see the visual as you are working on that. So hopefully that came through for you. Teal and Jobwell are very focused on actually the job search itself. So Trello's more a general, like, project organizer. Teal and Jobwell, very specific for the job search itself. And then, of course, you can also use a custom spreadsheet. One of the things that I offer you is a spreadsheet of companies that have previously hired our students. So you can start from that, work from there, list the places you've applied for, and so on. Okay, so additional job search resources. So these are the ones from that handout that I showed you earlier. So we're going to start with entry level, because this is where most college students really want to focus. So EPAC, of course, those are jobs that the company has said, we want to hire NC State students. So we are very intentionally going to post our opportunities with the NC State system. These others are also focused on entry-level hiring. So you are more likely to find opportunities for internships and then full-time positions that are more focused on the new grad with these platforms. So I definitely recommend starting with those. I think it just feels more productive, less frustrating when you see things that you're actually qualified for. Okay, and then some additional ones that you might want to look at. Sometimes you really want to focus on staying in Raleigh, or maybe you really want to move to Seattle or, some other location. You should find some resources focused on jobs in those areas. Then you can also look by industry. So if you're interested in software engineering, for example, Stack Overflow has a great job board. Women in Technology is an affinity-based job board that's a good one. So all of these are potential leads for you. And so when we're talking about those 3 or 4 days a week that we want to focus on finding job listings. These are the sites that we're looking at besides the entry-level job boards and besides, in addition to these broad national platforms that I know you're already using. Things like LinkedIn, like Glassdoor, like Indeed. I know you're already using those, and you can absolutely keep using those. Just wanted to put a couple more ideas in there of places you could look for additional opportunities. So now once you've found some opportunities, some places where you know I'm going to keep searching, I'm going to go back to the well for more opportunities at these sites every week, you also have to think about how can I leverage and expand my network. So the first thing to do is to work with the group you already know, right? You're sitting next to people in class right now. Some of them may graduate in December and go to work at places where you want to work. Some of them may be interning at places you want to intern. These are good sources of information. You should be connecting with your peers on LinkedIn right now. You should be connecting with the people you went to undergrad with, all of those things. Leverage those existing resources. Send them a quick message. How are you doing? I'm looking for an internship this summer, and I noticed that you are working at IBM. I'm really interested in the work that you've done. It looks fascinating. Can you tell me more about it? I'm interested in your advice for, if there are things I can make sure I have in my profile to be competitive with your organization. So asking a simple question, we're not asking for referrals. We're asking for something that's easy for them to answer. So when do people apply for internships, for example? How do people apply? What kind of interviews does the company typically have? These are all common, good, easy questions that they could ask, and you start that conversation. If they're employed, absolutely show that personal interest in what they're doing. If they're job seeking too, just like you, this is a person you can pair up with. You can work together. You can support each other in the job search process. You definitely need a buddy along the way to keep yourself accountable and to keep yourself encouraged to keep going. You're also going to be reaching out to new people. And this is more scary for sure than talking to somebody or writing somebody that you already know. One way to do that is to create some conversation on LinkedIn in general or Twitter in general. That's another platform where you can have conversation with people who are in your field about something that's really interesting in data science or machine learning or software engineering. It is going to allow you to connect with new people, because if somebody that you're connected with comments on your post, then it's going to be viewed by everybody that's in their connections. So that's how you expand your reach. You meet additional people through LinkedIn that's a little more organic, which is fantastic because you're going to connect up with those like-minded people who have similar interests with you in the same field. So that's perfect. Great way to meet new people online. You can also connect with people directly and make a kind of cold call, right? Again, start with those easy to answer questions. You want to talk to them about their work. Maybe they're also NC State alumni, and that's a really great place to start. Find the people at companies where you want to work, where you have something in common with them. Recruiters get bombarded with requests and emails, both from LinkedIn and directly. And so they're not able a lot of times to answer all the questions that you might have. So while that feels like a really great idea to do that, it may be low return on the investment of time, whereas you may get further in the process if you reach out to somebody who's not getting bombarded with hundreds of messages every day. So think about, go to the NC State page on LinkedIn. When you search North Carolina State University, you can find alumni from there, and then you can search by company. And so you can reach out to people who have, the same background as you and try to learn more about what is it like to work within that organization, that kind of thing. So that's a complicated piece for sure. You'll get better at it with practice, just like you will with interviews. It is definitely something that it takes time to get good at for sure. So certainly, I think preparing for the interview is a huge part, and that's why I think you should do it every week. Can't wait until you get called for the interview, and then tell the employer, "Pump the brakes. I need a couple of weeks to prepare." What's going to happen in that case is that you're going to get behind other candidates who are ready to interview. They probably have specific days and times that already work when they have called you or emailed you for the interview. And so you do not want to, put the brakes on that process if you can help it. Of course, if it's in the middle of final exams, that kind of thing, understandable. You should ask for more time. But otherwise, let's try to get in there on their timeline so that you are moved along at an appropriate pace within their organization. The number of calls that you're going to get relative to the applications that you submit is typically not that high. So when you actually get an interview call, you want to make the most of it. You should be going into LeetCode, or some other source like that every week, doing some practice on your own. But even more importantly, pairing up with a friend where you can take turns asking each other some of those technical problems and working through them together as interviewer and interviewee. Because while solving technical problems is something you do on your own for class all the time, right? It's part of your academic background. But for, an actual interview, you're going to have to talk about that logic and the process of the decision making. So you have to practice that. You have to practice it. Quincia is also a tool that we have that we have subscribed to for you, so that you can you can actually see how you look in a video interview, which is what you're going to have. See how you sound. Are you making eye contact? How long is it taking you to answer questions? How many words are you using? How technical are those words? It's a great tool for helping you understand how you're performing already in interviews and where you might need to be. So just a couple of quick notes on video interviews, just trying to make eye contact with that. In Zoom, you can kind of move the screen around a little bit. You can make the other people that are in the window, you can move it up close to where your camera is on your laptop. That's going to trick you into looking right at the camera because it's not natural to do that necessarily. And then you do want to think about what are you wearing. You want to make sure that, it looks reasonably conservative and good on camera. Solid colors, maybe over bolder patterns, for example, because you don't know how it's going to look on video, what the resolution is going to look like. So I would definitely think about that. I would certainly think about, how much skin you're showing. You want to make sure that you're covered and they're focused more on what you're saying and not how you appear. And then, I have to really work on this too. Try to avoid slouching. You want to keep attentive body posture. You probably noticed I look like I'm kind of leaning forward some in this segment today. And that's because I want to show you that I am fully engaged and paying attention to you. That's one of the things you can do. And I'm keeping my hand gestures here rather than here where they can be seen. Just remember that it is about connecting with people. At the end of the conversation, they're going to have to write a report. They're going to have to make a phone call or have a meeting where they get together and talk about all the candidates. You want that person that you met with to say, hey, we got to call this person back because they were awesome. They really understood what we do. They had a really comparable skill set to what we're looking for. They're so interested and enthusiastic about the type of work that we do. It was a great conversation. That's what you want them to say about you. So there's some links here for more information as well. Finally, stay positive. Like I said, it's definitely a challenging process, even a great job market. Our students have been incredibly successful in the last 5 years that I've been in this job, but it's always takes more time than we want it to take. That's just the reality of it. So keep going. You can do this. Okay. The job search is tough for everybody, but you've got this. You can do it. Keep going and definitely call on us for help when you need that encouragement and also additional information. We are here to help. I hope you have a wonderful